25 in Houston, Texas with the one and only BRIAN CHING. This is Play a Great Game with the Big Kahuna, the Flying Hawaiian, the one and only number 25. Yes, that's right, BRIAN CHING. So this series is all about storytelling and really seeing how Brian, more importantly, can just share your story from growing up in Hawaii. I'm getting all the way over to Seattle, moving into like Spokane, playing, Sounders, which I know the whole deal, but how did it start for you in Hawaii with soccer and your love and affinity for the game?
I started with my mom. She was like, hey, why don't you play a sport? We're like, what sport? She's like, soccer. We're like, what is that? And I was kind of a shy kid at the time, so I told my mom, hey, if you coach, I'll play. But so she was my first coach. She didn't know anything about soccer. Had the AYSO manual out, reading it on the way to practice to put us through some drills and stuff, and just kind of slowly fell in love with the game that way. And always wanted to go away, leave the islands, and go to college. And so she's like, hey, you got to help me try to get a college scholarship. I said, what am I good at? And so I was picked soccer and just kind of dedicated myself to it, and was fortunate enough to get one scholarship to Gonzaga University. Went to Gonzaga University, and then through that the league started in '96. Was fortunate enough to have the Galaxy coach Ziggy Smith at the time come to a couple of our college games and saw me play, and invited me out to training for one summer with their team. I played well, and they kind of drafted me to the MLS once I graduated from college. And then
let me stop you right there real quick. Right? So to go back to when you were a child, I feel like there was something off in a great way for me, that I was just obsessed. I laid out my clothes before the game. I was 4 years old, right? And you just I was getting fights with kids over the ball. What was your kickoff experience as a child with the game?
I had two brothers, I always competing with my older brother. Hated to lose, and it was more probably about that than anything else.
Right.
Just the fact that, I felt very insecure. I felt kind of worthless if I lost, I didn't feel like I was good enough. And so, my goal is always to get there, to be the best, to work hard, to become better. And that's kind of how, I worked my way. It wasn't like, hey, I want to be a professional soccer player one day. It was just more like, all right, where is soccer how can I get to college? It's through soccer. Okay, how can I become one of the better players? It's focus. And so I made a lot of those sacrifices because of those feelings as a young age, going out an hour before school and showing up with a soccer ball by myself, and just getting the work in and doing the work and making sure that I was improving, getting better, and becoming one of the better players. And it was just kind of a consistent theme throughout my career, in the sense that I would always have to put the work in and do it, and then I would slowly rise.
Yeah, talk about a leader. You led by example. I'll never forget when you corner kick, it was a counterattack, and you're sprinting all the way back. That was something that I'll never forget, just to set the example. But I guess a two-part question, what was it, that one piece of advice, that one coaching tip that you would get earlier on that really changed the game for you? And then what advice would you give to a parent?
For me, what I always tell kids is there's no substitute for hard work. Being successful is all about hard work, and most people don't understand how difficult it is to put that work in, and they don't do it. So, they don't know how hard it is to become a professional. Not even at soccer. It's everything you do. You have to put the work in consistently when no one's looking, to do the things you need to do to get better. And most people don't have that drive or quit, right? And that's why they never get to the highest level. And as far as advice for a parent, I don't know. My son's still in it, and I get frustrations sometimes.
Yeah, but I feel like his affinity for the game is growing. Obviously he's got some big shoes to fill, but I feel like he's falling more in love with it.
I think a lot of it about this age is just having fun. So first year he didn't go very well. Lost every game. Kind of got down on the sport. But this year put him on a team that a little bit lower level, but he found success, and he found excitement playing with friends and things like that. And so, I think for me, one of the things that I think we did together was that mentorship program for 10, 12-year-old kids. And for me, I think what I really came away with from that experience was that as a parent, you could tell your kid the right thing over and over and over, but until you get somebody that they respect or look up to reinforce that message,
So important.
then you're sometimes your message doesn't sink in as much. And so I think it'd be find that right mentor, find that right person that your kid looks up to, and have them reinforce the messages you want to give.
I think it's a great lesson just in life, right? I mean, I think for us as entrepreneurs, speaking for myself, it's always the same analogy. You had coaches, good teachers, right? But you always had somebody to kind of guide you and give you the right information and help direct your path so that you could put that energy into the right direction. And also in business, or having even coach from a personal perspective too, to grow. I feel like is like a very good analogy that I've experienced. So take me back to college. So then obviously you got that opportunity with Ziggy, Seattle, and that really kind of kicked off the professional journey.
Yeah, and then I went to a professional team, and I was kind of a little bit behind. I don't think I was mentally prepared, and I got thrown into the first game of the year because our starter got injured, and we're down 3-0 at halftime. I get yanked, and so for me that was a really mentally tough place to be in, and told myself, oh, you don't belong here, you're not good enough, and told myself that for probably like the first half of the season, and and then really came out to every practice and performed that way, and had to take a real mental effort for me to basically realize what I was doing and say, hey, look, turn your mindset around, start doing the things
Was
you
that
did.
just self-awareness, or did you have a coach? Or
Yeah, I mean, I got so miserable.
I
got so miserable, and I was like, you know what? I only have a couple more months. Try to get back to what made you successful and got you here. So I started going in early, an hour early. Grabbed the assistant coach, said, hey, work with me. So by the end of the season, started playing really, really well. Got into a couple of playoff games and games at the end of the season. But obviously, didn't have the season I wanted. Got cut, but kind of kept the confidence and kept that drive. When I went to Seattle in the second division, had a fantastic year there, and then next year got called back up and ended up scoring 30 seconds into my first game that year.
Wow.
So it was a completely different mindset, and my abilities and my skills were the same. It was just the mindset that I went in there, and instead of like, well, I don't belong here, it's like, give me the ball, I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna score a goal. If I mess up, look, give me the ball, I'm gonna make it up on the next play, instead of I don't want to mess up. If I get the ball, you're thinking negatively, and so.
Right. On that negative though, I sorry to interrupt you. I just with how we speak to ourselves, right, and that message and words are so powerful. So when it comes back to one, amazing to be that self-aware to actually say, oh, I'm gonna do something about this, rather than continue to keep dwelling and creating that place, right, of what you were doing. I think coming from a place of being, but yeah, from the I guess a part of how you coached yourself up, what were those coaching tips for you that really helped? As I was practicing the daily reps, and if you had a mental moment where you thought something negative, or was there something that brought you back to being present?
For me, it was just getting out there and grinding it out again, and then having those little successes along the way, and then have that slowly build the confidence. It wasn't like boom overnight. The confidence came to me, and
of course,
right. But it was just getting back to working hard, and then because I was working hard, you start experiencing those little successes, and then slowly build back my confidence. And so, it was a process, just like how you build yourself, from a novice player to professional player. It's a process and doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And so, it was just that cognizant thing of, hey, you only got so much more time here, so why not give everything you got for it?
I met Brian, I remember the first time I was San Jose, Earthquakes. I went on a trial or a week camp or whatever with you guys. I think you were injured with an Achilles maybe at the time, or a knee.
Probably.
Yeah.
Achilles, yeah.
But through your career, man, you've suffered a few nicks here and there. Not to list them all out here though, but.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. For me, it was one of the things I had to always play 100%. And when you're doing that, your body's going to break down from time to time. And,
right.
And then I think I got one Achilles, ruptured my Achilles, and I think from that, never really completely got the strength back in my calf. So I think your body's off the whole time when you're pushing 110%,
right.
Then your body kind of would just break down. But
how did you bounce back from injuries though? We had what were the Achilles, knee?
I mean, I have 4 meniscus surgeries, I have ruptured Achilles, almost a ruptured hamstring, 2 facial fractures, broken fingers, separated ribs.
You're downplaying all these injuries. I mean, bro, like, you're...
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot, but, you know, it's always just to get back and play.
But, like, the resilience to go back, right? Like, to always do it, was it always just like, hey, this is my job, it's part of, like, the process? I mean,
I think so. I mean, you get hurt, you just want to get back and start playing again because you love playing, right? And so it was just like, okay, crap, here we go again. All right, but you know, grind it and get back and get back, try to get back to where you were, if not better.
So would you say like San Jose was like kind of like the halftime of your game in terms of like your season of like football, like, and what did that look like with the Earthquakes? Because obviously you guys had a ton of success.
Yeah, you know, I was fortunate enough to be on a team with a lot of like-minded guys, right? Guys that just wanted to win, guys that would work hard. You know, I think the theme for that team was probably guys that hated to lose more than anything else and do everything it took to not lose. And, you know, it was a great environment that, you know, Frank created, and then Dom kind of took over and kind of kept it going. And so, you know, it was just a tough place to play for anybody because you always had to be performing at your best, even in practice. And practices were harder than games most of the time. And I think that's why we were successful because, you know, we get guys to come in and they would play, but they would be like, wow, I never trained so hard in my life, right? And that really resonated with me, being like, oh, okay, that's what successful teams are, right? Because, you know, if it's harder to play and practice against your teammates, and the games are going to be a little bit easier, and you're going to find a lot more success.
Sounds like the Dynamo 06-07, man. That was a good one. So, I mean, I'll be honest, like, that team was, I mean, go down history as one of the best, man. The players, I mean, what you guys accomplished. I mean, did you know that San Jose Earthquakes was going to get traded to the Houston market? And, like, did you see that coming? And, you know, talk about that transition of the team and, you know, moving to Houston.
Ever since I got there in 2003, they always talked about the team moving if we didn't get a stadium deal, and so you kind of got used to it by the ending of 2005. But we got a call in December saying, hey, we're moving. You know, get your families, get everything ready, and January, we're going to be in Houston. And so it was difficult, right? But you know, Houston inherited the best team in the league. We won the Supporters Shield the year before that.
And drafted
in
05, 06.
And then, but you know, I was most proud of those teams because of what we had to accomplish coming here, getting experience with the new weather, the heat, and all that stuff. And then, you know, moving your families, because none of us are millionaires, and you know, half the family stayed in San Jose for half the season, and it was difficult to overcome all that stuff and then still win at the end of the year.
I mean, the amount of like things that were going against the team. I mean, this cold showers, rats in the locker room, javelins being thrown at us at Carl Lewis track. I mean, the band going through, you know, practice. I mean, the list literally goes on. Simultaneously, you've got guys that have families and kids that now have to get relocated. And honestly, like, you know, this was like my PhD growing up, like being in that locker room with you guys. I mean, I didn't play for a few years, reserve team, did my thing, but it was the best experience. And honestly, everything that Sphere's about today is because of you, because of Dominic, and because of that locker room. I would say the one thing I always remember is when, you know, we always had these like really like powerful team meetings. And I'll never forget, it's like, you know, we could use this as an excuse, or we could come together and say, F the league, screw whoever ownership group, you know, it's just us against the world. And I think that bonded us in a way that was more powerful than anything else. And that regardless of all the inner dynamics of a team, people talking cliquey things, I think it's such a special atmosphere that has to be created. And I think it comes from like a good leader, which I think Dom was very good in terms of, I would just say, like, dealing with all the personalities and being able to organize that, but then also from the point of having something as a collective goal that everybody was working towards, right? And could hold each other accountable. And I think you guys literally set the table for like what success looks like in terms of like a team dynamic for a business, for a relationship, for you know, a startup, right? And even like obviously a sports team. But were there like that playbook that you would say, if you had to like give like a few things that really set the table for like a strong locker room dynamic. When I say locker room too, like I really kind of mean on and off the field, because I feel like a lot of this applies to like a family, or it applies to your friends, or it applies to your business.
Like you said, you need a strong leader, and then you need a strong leaders within the group to be successful, and they all have to buy into the same thought process, the same mentality, and it has to police itself. The coach can kind of get on everybody when the whole group kind of starts steering away or slacking a little bit, but at the end of the day, the group has to be able to police itself. And I think we had a lot of strong leaders on that team, and set the bar really, really high, and wouldn't let other people slack off. And if you did, or you didn't fit in the mentality, right, the team's not for you, so they got pushed out. But most of the time, people understood that, learned it, bought into it, and that's how you kind of really create that core group and that core mentality, and that's why it's success.
I feel like a lot of companies preach culture, or they talk about creating that like family atmosphere and dynamic, but I think it's easier said than actually done. And I will never forget what Dom said. He would come in beginning of this preseason and be like, listen, here are the rules. You'll be on time, no cell phones in the locker room, shake hands before when you walk in the when you walk in. And he's like, whatever happens on the field stays on the field. When you come back in, it stays off. But I mean, he said, like, these are the rules. You guys patrol it, whether it's the rookie to you or vice versa. But like, these are the rules that we're all going to play by. And I think that just was like very powerful, because no matter what, everybody had a clear expectation of what was expected in that locker room, and then everybody had to meet it. And if you didn't, I mean, Dominic was the first one to cut people. Even like Kai Kamara, like even going in the playoff run, was just like, what, but it was just like that personality and like the dynamic in the shift, which I'm giving one example, but he was not afraid to, change things if it was for the better of the team that he thought.
Well, you have to treat everyone the same, right? From the star player down to the rookie, like you said. And if you don't do that, then you're going to lose the group. And, I think he did a fantastic job of doing that. Like I said, keeping us aligned. And the guys in the group really understood that and perpetuated, that culture. And I think that was the key to our success, is just everybody holding everybody to a high level and knowing what success looks like. If you don't know what success looks like, you don't know how hard it is, or how hard you have to push. And fortunate for us, we had guys that were successful and held the bar super high. And so, when people don't understand what success looks like, they come in, they're like, oh, that's so hard, or that's not for me, right? But it's difficult, and I tell everybody, it's successful. I don't care what profession you're in or whatever. To be the best is difficult, and you have to put the work in. And most people, like I said, don't understand how difficult or how much work you have to put in, and they never see that side of it.
So then let's talk about like getting into business. I mean, I don't think you get enough credit for what you've built here for Pitch 25, financial planning, like you're very entrepreneurial, investing, and constantly looking to grow. Talk about that, like what were your interests in even creating a Pitch 25, and just like your process of that transition to working yourself through to where you are today.
I mean, once you get out, don't completely know what you want to do. Got into trying to run the women's team, realized that probably not for me, and then kind of did the bar thing on the same side, and saw a lot of joy in what I brought to people, and what we was able to build here with my partners. And so really over the past few years always wanted to grow it, but then COVID happened, and so now really kind of making a push to grow it, because I think I found something that brings people together, through watching sports, through playing on the pitch here. And I kind of want to share that, and I think there's a real excitement around what we've created here and what we're going to create, and kind of looking forward to kind of building a team that can help really, grow that into something a lot bigger.
What would be those coaching tips that you give to people, maybe just to leave them to hopefully, play a little bit better?
Hard work. You want to be successful, you got to put in the work. There's no shortcuts. You have to put in the work in whatever you do, and that's success. Any successful person I've talked to has had to grind it out, stress it out, had to believe in themselves, and had to keep pushing. And so, that's kind of what I would love to leave everyone with. Yeah.
Love you, brother. All right, let's play, huh? Let's go. All right. Oh, knees, watch the knees. Oh my God. Just shut out of here. Let's go. Dominic would kill me right now by the time I shoot the game.
Well,
Let's go. So he's on fire. Oh my God. Yes. All right, that's it. Good workout.